We're here in New York City with the founder of Brunch Boys, Jeremy Jacobowitz. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Staying dry today. How about yourself?
Staying dry. It's nice and warm in here. Feeling good.
You're representing New York today.
I'm head to toe New York today.
You're not even from New York. No, I'm just kidding.
It's to be fair, no matter what I'm wearing, I'm repping New York. But today in particular, I got the Yankees hat on, and this is actually my own sweatshirt I'm selling.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
What's going on here?
It just says New York. I was, people have asked for years, like, oh, merch. I was like, I don't know. Like, that's not my thing. And like, I don't even want to wear something that says Brunch Boys. I'm like, that's strange. But I worked with a company called Flavor Gallery that I've worked with for a while. And they do really cool food and restaurant collaborations. And they pitched me on like, no, just come up with something that's you.
Yeah.
And it's New York and has pizza on it. That's certainly me.
There we go. Back to food, the culinary aspect of it all. You also love baseball caps, huh? Can we jump into that story for a little bit?
Yeah, so I started before. So I collect baseball hats. What's funny is your head size doesn't change. So my first hat goes back to maybe third grade. I have a giant head anyway, so I guess. Maybe it's just like, so
what are we playing with? Like 7 3/4?
7.5.
Okay, 7.5.
But it started, so my mom used to travel a lot, and wherever she would go, she would bring me back the hat from that city, whatever baseball team it was. So then I started collecting it that way, and then I just started collecting wherever I would go, and then it just became like a full-on, it's an obsession. Like, at least like it's not crazy expensive obsession, but I'm talking like at least one hat a month. So we're in the hundreds of authentic real baseball hats.
Oh, so it's authentic. So it's got to be fitted, no snapback, adjustable nonsense.
Has to be fitted, has to be what they... once I have a lot of the hats, then I could move a little bit. So like, all right, I have every Angels hat or every Dodgers hat because I go to LA a lot. All right, now we could dip our toes into maybe something that they didn't specifically wear on the fields,
right? But
at least like is fitted still, like the feel of it being authentic. But start with the actual stuff they've worn on the fields.
Got it. So those are all predominantly new era then?
Yeah, they're all everything's new era, except for when I went to Japan. I have a Japanese hat, which I was so bummed. So I went there, like I said,
Giants or which one is it?
No, so I got Hiroshima, because I was blown away by all of Japan, but Hiroshima especially, I was like so beautiful. I wanted to sort of have that takeaway from that city, and I'm bummed that I'm like, okay, I need to find one hat. I found a Lids in Japan, and they had every team, and I was like, oh, so I picked it up, picked out Hiroshima, and then I got home thinking like, all right, now I'm going to buy more Japanese hats, and I reached out to my hat friends in America. And they're like, no, dude, you can't buy Japanese hats here. Like they will not even, there's weird rules. They won't even bring them to America. You cannot buy them. I was like, if I knew that, I literally would have bought every single baseball hat in Japan.
I'll let you know. I'm there next year, Q1 of next year. So I'll let you know. You pick up which ones.
I'll PayPal you or Venmo you, and then you can buy me all the hats.
We'll figure it out. Come back with some hat game. Your hat game will be strong. You'll be the Japanese hat boss. Brunch Boys as well. So if we go back, like, how did you get started? It's such a fun, unique concept that's kind of just blown up and taken a life of its own.
Yeah, totally. It was by accident. So my original background is sports. I studied sports management at NYU. Now it's like, what the hell's that about? Even at the time, it's like, oh, sure. But then I worked in sports TV. So while I was in college, I interned at SNY, which is the Mets Network. I did everything there. I started field producing for WCBS Sports while I was still there. I got laid off by WCBS before I graduated, which is a huge accomplishment. And then from there, graduated, just trying to find my way. This is 2009, so that's a pretty terrible year to graduate college. Ended up at WWE.
Like, I graduated, I'm here.
Right.
It's like, we're not hiring.
Yeah, nobody was hiring. But then ends up at WWE, did that a year. And at that point, I was just like, I don't know if I want to do sports anymore. The landscape is totally different. There's not
like wrestling, like the pro wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling. Yeah. So my job
what were you doing there? Let's pause on that one real quick.
We could listen.
I digress.
I have my own wrestling podcast too. It's a great time to plug that.
Oh yeah.
It's called, there you go. It's called Monday Night Pod Wrestling's War. It's all about the Monday Night Wars. So like the classic times, like what people have nostalgia for, it's for that. And I wanted to do that podcast because when I worked at WWE, I was a logger in the tape library. So this is before the WWE network. And their tape history goes back to the 50s. They've bought every piece of wrestling footage that's ever existed. And they just didn't even know what they owned. So my job was to watch all of wrestling. So like the knowledge of wrestling in my brain is there's no way you could have it
except for Hacksaw, Jim Duggan.
No, I'm talking about going back to 1915. You watch stuff like the Hacksaw is like it took us months just to get there.
To get there, yeah.
It's wild how much they have. So anyway, I worked at WWE for a year, and then I was just like, what else can I do in TV? There weren't that many other sports places to work. I didn't particularly want to work at ESPN. I didn't want to be in Bristol. And I went back to just being a PA. and ended up in food TV. And I was like, oh, I love food. I love TV. Why didn't I ever make this connection? It sort of took doing it to make that connection. And just totally fell for it. And just went back to being a PA. And then Bobby Flay hired me to be his PA. So I met him on set and he was like, hey, I have my own production company. Why don't you come work with me? Which obviously, if you want to work in food TV, now, you are working alongside Bobby and he's your mentor. Like there's nothing else you could ever ask for. Yeah. So did that, started producing food travel, food competition, all that kind of food stuff. And then Brunch Boys started.
Did you have to, like, when you started there, did you have to, like, was it kind of taking a step backwards from where you were?
Oh, like yeah. I mean, like I said, I was field producing already in like the news sports side of things. Yeah. But to make the jump to the more reality, really, TV, nothing translated over. Other than like it ending up on TV, nothing was the same. So my first jobs before I was lucky enough for Bobby to hire me to be his PA. Like my job as a dude PA, your job is to like drive trucks and take out the garbage and carry stuff. And like, you're not even really learning anything. You're just like getting stuff done because you're a 6'4" dude. And you're like,
it's like, hey, can you go move that box?
Yeah,
thanks, bro.
That's it. You like, you sit there in a corner and wait and someone walks you, hey, Jeremy. I'm like, yeah, come carry this. I mean, even like, I remember the first job I got, they emailed me or called me. They're like, hey, could you drive a truck? And I was like, yeah, of course I could drive a truck. Yeah, sure, yeah. So then you end up driving trucks all over New York City.
Like, you go through it. Said no.
Oh no, you should say. I mean, I said all the time, like people, even PAs now I guess I'm out of TV, but when I was still in TV and hiring PAs, and then be like, oh, I can't really drive. I'm like, well, why are you cannot? You have to be able to drive to do this. Just lie to me. Get through it. I don't care. Just say yes to me and figure it out because it's like the smallest part of working in TV is going to be figuring out how to drive the 15 pass cargo van or 50 pass van. So figure that shit out or you're not going to make it very far. Just completely like I did. Anyway, did that. And then 5.5 years ago, I started Brunch Boys. It was honestly I was bored in TV. I was freelance gig to gig to gig. I'm someone that can never just sit still. Yeah. So I was like, I'll make some brunch videos. There's no food influencers. There was no real Instagram. There was none of this world existed. I was just like, I'll make some videos and whatever. So made a couple of videos. Started the Instagram account just because I was like, I picked the same Brunch Boys. Let me make sure I own it. I also started Facebook and YouTube and all the things. Twitter. Went back to work, didn't think about it. But what happened was I ended up being on the road for a lot of food travel shows, producing the show. So I'd be in the kitchen. One of the jobs when you're producers, you do everything. So they handed me a camera and they're like, take photos of food. We need it for digital stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't really know how to take photos, but whatever. Again, just said yes.
Yeah.
So I'd get back to my hotel room and have like hundreds of photos of food from that day. And I'd be like, I don't know if I want to post on my personal account. Like, my friends won't like that. I was like, I have this weird food account called Brunch Boys. I guess I'll post it there. Yeah. And I started posting there and I had content. I was posting every single day from restaurants all over the world, or all over America, I guess. Yeah. And the account just blew up. And there was still never a thought of, you could do this full time. Again, this world didn't exist. There's no thought to, I can grow this and make money or do whatever. It just all happened really organically. And then 4.5 years ago or 4 years ago, I ended up being on like 3 straight food travel shows, got home, just mentally and physically exhausted, really like I needed a break from TV really bad. And it happened.
So you were on the show, not behind. You were actually
I was producing
all those shows.
All
so you're doing both in parallel. So you're managing this
but
account that is just
wasn't
kind of
even really managing it. It was just like posting some photos or like there was no thought put into it at all for a year and a half.
Food porn became like a thing, right?
Well, what was funny is last show I worked on was called food porn. So food porn was a thing, but it wasn't the same way it is now.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I needed a break and Brunch Boys had maybe 15,000 followers, which even 4 years ago wasn't a ton, but I was just like, you know what? I just want to play with something and relax for a month and have these weird opportunities. People wanted to give me free food. I'm like, that's so wild. Okay. Yeah. So for the first time in a year and a half, I focused on the account and the account then skyrocketed. That was when I started focusing on, when would I post? What are hashtags? Like thinking about all these things that was never a thought and exploded. And I was having fun with it. And I talked to some friends that had started making money and they're just like, you're really close. Just keep pushing. So I pretty much looked at my bank account, looked at my expenses that I had to pay, I don't know, rent and insurance. And I was like, okay, I can make it to this month and not have any other income come into me. And I made it to that month and then started making money. And I was like, and even then it was like, I'll probably, go to a show and then go back to this, have this be just a fun thing. But, in TV, you don't make that much money. So pretty much immediately I started making more money. And I was like, oh, I get to do what I do, which is tell these stories about food and producing and making these videos. But I get to do it on my own and make more money. And a lot of the downsides, the reason why I needed to step away from TV, I could get away from that totally.
Yeah. And
that's it. I never went back. So it's been over 4 years full time running Brunch Boys.
No, that's awesome. So that's an incredible story. So are you doing all the editing and everything? Like how does your content
I do,
run us through kind of what it
everything.
is now?
What's funny is I always say, like, as a producer, you don't like technically do anything. Yeah. Like when I was a producer, I would just tell other people what to do. Like, this is the shot I want. This is what I want it to be. This is how I want it to come together. And other people did it. So I didn't have any of those skills. I've now since self-taught myself to shoot, to edit, to do audio, to do lighting. Maybe I don't do it that well, but at least I can sort of get it done. To edit, to be on camera, to all that stuff. Because I just realized I'm like, I can't afford those people. So I better learn it. And I'll sit and watch YouTube videos. Yeah. That's how I self-taught myself that way. I bought all the programs that I would sit there and with the laptop in front of me and the YouTube on the TV. And I would just figure out how to do stuff. So yeah, it's just maybe here and there when I have a budget, like if I do branded stuff and I have a budget, I'm like, okay, I have a little bit of budget for this video. Then they hire friends, at least help me film something, like at least like take the pressure off. I could be better on camera when I don't have to worry about the camera running. Because normally when I'm in a restaurant, I put the camera on the tripod, I can control it with my phone through Wi-Fi. And I just hit record, like make sure it's going, click record, and just hope that it all works out. And sometimes I talk, most of the times I talk 5 minutes, fine. Sometimes I talk 5 minutes, I just triple check the footage. I'm like, oh God, it was out of focus or the audio was wonky or whatever it was, which is a pain, but you sort of get through so you don't have to pay someone. So, I mean, the goal would be eventually to hire someone just to take the load off a little bit. I mean, I'm producing 3 to 5 videos a week, cranking them out. So my decision has always been, well, just sleep less and get it done. But at some point, you need to not do that.
You need to make it scalable and sustainable.
It's sustainable more than scalable, yeah.
No, that's interesting. So you're doing it all yourself, and then you reference going back with Instagram, like when to post, how much to post, frequency of it. How have you seen? These algorithms are always changing. How do you maintain what you're doing and understand those changes and then adapt your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I started pre-algorithm, so I don't have to worry about that necessarily. I mean, it's worry about hashtags and still timing. I thought about a lot and how many times to post. I mean, I really, the reason why I skyrocketed is I took advantage of their system. I would post 4 to 5 times a day, and I just gamed their system to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And obviously it changes every day. It's not, people think it's like this big scary machine that people are sitting there dialing things. It's not really that. I mean, like it's an algorithm. It's just guessing based on your things. Like people like to complain about the algorithm, being like, well, people don't see my content because the algorithm doesn't push it to them. I'm like, but it's not like this weird AI machine's fault. It's the people that follow you for not engaging with it. Yeah. If they always engage with your content, the algorithm's always going to show it to them. Like I always say, like when you turn on Instagram, you always see content that you want to see. Yeah. That means the algorithm's working. It might not be working in your benefit. And listen, I would love for every single person to be push my content that follows me.
Yeah.
That's not how it works, unfortunately. But I mean, in terms of like strategy, I mean, there's a lot more data available to me now than when I started. A lot of the things that data now tells me, I just sort of guessed at, which is like where my audience is, what times are good to post, what hashtags to use, all this stuff. Now I'm given a lot of data, and I think it's always evolving. Like because I do a lot of videos and I really use IGTV more than anything. I like the long form of it. I think it makes me stand out. I think algorithm wise, and now I see this data. Instagram pushes my IGTV to more people than they would a normal post. So I reach more people with every post. But I think, okay, maybe if it's sort of peak time, 4 p.m. for people to view my content, but at 4 p.m., who's able to sit and watch 5 minutes of a video? They can't. So I'm like, okay, well, that means, well, let me post now at 8 p.m. since 40% of my audience is New York. By 8 p.m., maybe they're home and they just finished dinner and they want to watch something or whatever it is, and sort of best guessing that way. So it changes all the time, but I'm always trying to stay ahead of it at least.
Yeah. So you're staying ahead of it. You're utilizing data. Like, where do you get this data for the people that don't?
Most of it's from Instagram, honestly. Like, there's a lot of third-party places that deliver data. It used to be a lot big of a deeper dive. Like, before the Cambridge Analytica stuff, a lot of these third-party systems had a lot of data from Instagram that was really, really helpful. Once that happened, Instagram pulled the third-party data from everybody. So pretty much the data that I get from Instagram's app within there is the same data everyone else delivers to me. So that's really all I use is just theirs.
And then you just adjust, retarget, and do it that way. So when you talk about brunch has always been, especially in New York City, a huge, huge thing. I remember when I lived here for 7 years, it was brunch on those weekends, and some of them get a little boozy, more fun than others. And you have the other end of the spectrum of the Lavos, and then back to your local restaurants, with the set menu sort of brunch setup. So how have you seen brunch evolve? Since you've started this over the last 4 years?
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that. One of the reasons why the reason I picked out brunch was two reasons, I guess. One reason was, so when I wanted to do these videos 5.5 years ago, I was like, okay, well, what's going to make this stand out? I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing it on my own. So production-wise, it's not going to be better than anything else. I can't do that. I'm on camera. I'm not going to be better talent than other people, so I don't have that. So I was like, well, what's going to make someone actually watch this? I'm like, well, it needs to be specific in some way to get people's attention. So I picked brunch because one, so the same thing. Listen, I'm a New Yorker. I'm like, I love brunch. All my friends love brunch. Cool. I want to talk about brunch. On the flip side of it, having worked in TV for so many years, I knew that in TV, nobody wanted to do anything about brunch. Every time I'd pitch a segment about brunch, I'd be told no by the networks. And it was because that the people that watch Food Network or Travel Channel, whatever network it was, and cable, I guess, they don't live in New York or LA. They live in the middle of America, and they don't know what brunch is, and they don't care, is what I'd be told. Like, the only brunch show that existed was Brunch of Bobby's, which is his cooking show, which I worked on. And he had to fight to get that made. But he's also Bobby, so they were like, okay, sure, just do whatever you want. But so I saw an opportunity there of like, okay, and then we focus on brunch. And the growth one of the coolest things is seeing the growth of brunch with Brunch Boys.
Yeah.
Or like, I always give the example, I went to San Antonio, now it's like 4 years ago. And people there were like, we don't have brunch. I was like, what do you mean a brunch? They're like, yeah, like some places maybe on Sundays after church where people do brunch, but like brunch isn't a thing. I was like, that's so weird. But so then like a year later, they texted me. They're like, we have brunch now. I was like, wow. Yeah. So like to sort of see it spread. And now like I've been able to travel the world to Brunch Boys and sort of see maybe there's not a specific brunch culture in every place I go to, but at least like brunch food exists, which to me is better than the culture. I think like sometimes the culture isn't so good, but it's not. But the brunch food is what I enjoy most, so it works out.
What are your favorite brunch items?
So I am more of a savory person. I always say this: if I were the one thing I want to try at every restaurant, I mean, I'm lucky enough where I go to restaurants, I just sort of like pick out a bunch of stuff. I get to taste everything. That's a lucky part of what I do. But I like tasting the avocado toast. One, I love avocado toast. It's fantastic.
It's my go-to. It's my jam.
But I think it's a really great way to judge a restaurant because avocado toast on the surface can be really, really simple. It's bread and avocado. And then if you're good, you're like, oh, it's salted perfectly, maybe a little olive oil, maybe, some pepper or something, a little heat. So it's something that could be such a throwaway item for the restaurant. So if I know they take the time because it's on like a really crusty, beautiful, fresh piece of bread, it's toasted perfectly, the avocado's fresh, it's salted to perfection, it's good olive oil. I'm like, oh, this restaurant took the time to make something, it could be really, really simple, really, really amazing. That speaks to what they could do with every dish. Yeah. So I like trying that everywhere.
Yeah, the attention on the simple things actually speaks to the next part of it. No, that makes sense. So avocado toast, anything else that you...
Like a good shakshuka, give me a brunch pizza, brunch bagel, brunch bagel, I mean all bagels, brunch burger. Like I said, I like to let's try one sweet thing. I think like a good order is like everyone order your own savory entree and then get like a sweets thing for the table. Because I want to taste the pancakes, but I don't really want to eat a whole plate of pancakes. Right. Yeah. Nobody does. So you get one, you put that in the middle table, I get to dig in, sharing. I mean, I like sharing anyway. So no matter what, I'm ordering 1,000 dishes and we're all sharing. But generally one sweets and everything else.
So are you more focused on, when you look at brunch and you've seen all different elements of it. So are you focused more food, like environment, boozy, like what do you,
I think it's mostly food, especially because like I always say, my account's brunch focused. It's just sort of the way I eat. Like even if I go to a restaurant, it's not brunch. I like the dish that has the eggs on it. I like the dish that has the avocado on it. So it's not, I would say even majority of the content at this point isn't necessarily like food you're only going to get when you sit down for brunch.
Right.
But it's just the way I'd like to order and eat. And I think like that comes across. I mean, even like I would say like I hope this isn't a question or maybe it's a question you're going to ask me. It's like, where's your favorite boozy brunch? I hate thinking about boozy brunch because to me, boozy brunch probably means a good boozy brunch to someone is I want dirt cheap drinks and 1,000 of them. And I'm like, well, usually that means that the food's going to suck. And usually that means that I know you think it's like all you could drink for $20 or something with like a shitty entree.
Oh, God,
but
it leads to a headache.
Well, it leads to a headache because it's terrible. It's terrible champagne.
Shit on top of shit.
Yes, and just like a ton of OJ. So you're gonna get your vitamin C or whatever, but like you're
a lot
not
of
gonna.
sugar.
Like just order one real drink and it'll be fine. Give me like I love tequila. Give me a tequila drink and I'll be straight. It's all good.
But do you have where's your favorite brunch in New York City?
Ooh, there are a couple that always come to mind. Sunday in Brooklyn is fantastic. Again, I say savory, but their pancakes are incredible. Like you have to go there. There's their pancakes too. Like I think you order like 1, 2, 3, or you could get like a sack or whatever, and like definitely order a sack and share for the table because they're like gluttonous and amazing. That's always amazing. Peking cow is always great. I love Asian. That's like Southeastern Asian. Llama Inn is Peruvian, which is fantastic. 12 Chairs is Israeli. I mean, that's what I sort of like about brunch is like, I think there is a sort of one stereotypical idea that brunch is like this one set thing of like eggs Benedict and avocado toast or whatever. And the joy I get is really exploring the brunch scene, especially in New York. They sort of take what's culturally relevant and where it is and adapt it to brunch, which is really cool.
Yeah. So how about brunches? I mean, as you've seen the brunch scene expand, across the globe, you mentioned San Antonio. I mean, I've noticed it as well. Is there, different areas. One time when I went to Austin, they never had it. 3 years later, it's like brunch is like a huge thing there, What are some other places that you've really enjoyed sort of the brunch sort of scene that while you were there and while you were visiting?
Well,
other cities or countries or
yeah, I mean, I've traveled a lot in America, more for TV shows than even Brunch Boys now. Worldwide, I think it's really cool. I've been to Australia twice because of Brunch Boys, and like everything there is like a brunch scene. Like everything's like a cute little coffee shop with amazing food. So that was really cool, especially in Melbourne. Like you trip and you fall into another brunch restaurant. I love that. And then I went to Japan this past spring, and that's sort of place where I think of like, okay, there's no real brunch culture in Japan, but there's certainly amazing brunch food in Japan. Like especially like we did a couple different variations of Japanese pancakes. Like one of them is more like the style we have here of Japanese pancakes, which are like the souffle pancakes, like really, really thick and airy because it's like the whipped egg white. Those were insanely good. And then we did another one in Tokyo. I forget what the place is called, Ginza West, something like that. But they're baked pancakes and they're like really shiny and sheeny and cooked to perfection. They're all like exactly the same, whatever. And those are really ridiculously good too. And it's like a good example, like I was saying, of a place where there's no brunch culture in Japan, but they certainly eat brunch food there, which I think is cool.
No, that makes perfect sense. Japan has such an amazing culinary scene.
I mean, I was there for 17 days. I ate everything.
17 days? Wow, that's amazing.
It was it was a sponsored thing. It was fantastic. I worked with All Nippon Airways, and they flew me out, and we're just like, hey, here's a budget. Go make videos that make people excited about Japan. Yeah. Make it food focused. I was like, yeah, okay. I can do that.
No problem.
So, I mean, we started in Tokyo. We were there for about 3 days, and then we flew south, and we did Fukuoka, Hiroshima, Osaka, Kyoto, back to Tokyo for a few more days. And like, it just blew my mind just because I kept telling people, especially in New York, I think there's an idea of Japanese food of sushi. Yeah, I love sushi. It's my favorite. That's my favorite food out of anything, funny enough. But when you go to Japan, it was so eye-opening to see really like all different types of food that Japanese food is. Like sushi, we only had sushi maybe 3 or 4 times, and they countless. I mean, we spent every day eating, so you can imagine how many places we hit up. And it's like what I think.
To only have it 3 or 4 times in 17 days. That's your favorite food speaks to.
Because every day we had egg salad sandos and tuna sandos from the convenience stores, which are the one. Someone asked me last night. It's like
that's like an Anthony Bourdain thing. He has a whole deal in the egg salad.
Oh my god! I'm telling you,
from the convenience store there.
Yes, and they're like $1 or something. It's so unbelievably good. I cannot find an egg salad sando like that here. I've been searching. Believe me. Some of the best pizza I've ever had, some of the best like yakitori chicken I've ever had. Like just everything was so incredible to sort of only eat sushi. It would be a disservice if you go to Japan and do that.
Yeah. So when you're traveling, are you very adventurous onto the menu? Like you'll try anything? Because I know a lot of people, when you travel, it's very difficult to kind of step outside of your comfort zone. and try new foods and get into the sort of culture, just
Yeah.
because it's weird or we're used to the way that we like things back home.
Yeah, I mean, I think the joy of traveling is getting to try that kind of stuff. So I think you need to pick a good travel partner.
Yeah.
Like when I went to Japan, I went with my friend Sydney from, she has an account called What Could Be Butter in LA, and she flew with me. And one of the reasons I wanted her to come, I'm like, I know she'll eat everything with me. Like, it's not fun if you do it by yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you want to partner
have a
with you.
gluttonous experience with a friend.
I mean, so a good example is like, so we did this yakitori omakase. It was like a Michelin star yakitori omakase, where you eat every part of the chicken. And again, there's a huge language barrier in Japan. Like, there's English everywhere. Like, the menus are in English and announcements are in English, but nobody really speaks English that well. They try really hard to understand you at least, but they can't really converse with you. So we sort of knew what was going to happen going in, but we weren't 100% sure. But I would say like the second thing they give you is the raw chicken, which we knew about. And we were just like, all right, let's just listen. This is you're not going to die. It's a Michelin star place in Japan. And I know it's so out there and weird for us, but like, we're here. If everyone else is going to eat it, we want to be part of this culture. Like, that's why we travel to experience this thing. So listen, was the raw chicken good? Yeah. No. But did it kill us? No. What's interesting is in Japan, there's no salmonella. So that's why it's okay to eat raw chicken.
Why is that? Do you know?
Just like better farming practices, I think. I think just in
You
a list
got me
of just in a
That's
list
good
of
to
things
know.
that Japan does better in America, salmonella doesn't exist. So you can eat raw chicken. I mean, I would still only do it from a Michelin star place. Like, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Not the convenience store.
Right, exactly. I don't know. But even like, it was funny. I was flying. I was in LA this past weekend, so I was flying back and forth, and I always drink the coffee on the airplanes. And I put up a story being like, I know the coffee on airplanes like tastes terrible, but I don't know. I always drink it. And I got so many messages about people telling me not to drink the coffee in airplanes.
How terrible it is. They don't clean this. There's all
Right,
these
it's
articles
exactly
on
it.
It's the dirtiest part of how they do it.
All these people sent me the articles. This is on the way out to LA. So on the way back, I drank the coffee again, did a story. I was like, I know you guys sent me your articles. That's fine. I don't feel. Then I had all these flight attendants DM me, and they're like, don't drink the coffee. And I was like,
there you have it. Don't drink the coffee on the airplane.
I still feel like, I don't know. I know it tastes terrible. I've never gotten sick from it. Maybe if you have a sensitive stomach.
Where have you got, like, there has to be some places that have just disrupted your stomach.
No,
like,
I mean, I think it's just like, thank God
You
my
got, like,
stomach is good.
ironclad
I've
stomach,
gotten, in the years I've now worked in food, media, and Brunch Boys, which is almost a decade, I've gotten food poisoning once. And guess what? I don't need to name names, but it was from a very acclaimed chef in New York City. It was not some dumpy place.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like, it's one of those things that can happen. But
anything could happen. It's out of their control. That's not like
Exactly.
they're trying to feed you stuff that'll get you
Right,
sick.
exactly. So I'm very, very lucky that I could eat anything. And
But
really
that
not-
coffee, though.
I'm still going to drink it. Whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, I know. But I've seen so many articles like all
That's
the time.
oh,
And people
I
ask
had
me,
them
like,
all
do you
sent to
drink
me.
coffee on the plane? Do you? I actually don't, but, like, whatever. And it's not because I'm like, oh, no, I won't touch the coffee. Like, I'm the same way. I'm like, if it's not going to kill me, like, who
Right.
gives a shit? There's like, if we actually dug into food handling or stuff, like, in some
course.
places you've been, like,
and
I promise you, there's
people
like,
are so weird about stuff, like, so in food videos, I don't like chefs wearing gloves. I think it's very off-putting.
Yeah.
Like, I always say, like, if you watch a Food Network travel show, which is my background, you don't wear gloves. It just is weird. So do videos, and I'll get some comments. Oh my God, the chef isn't wearing gloves. And I was like, well, first of all, it's a video that I made. I leave it up to the chef. I'm like, if you really feel comfortable wearing gloves, wear the gloves. I prefer you not to. And you normally like, oh, thank God, I don't want to wear these things. But I say to people too, I'm like, chefs wash their hands. If you're in a kitchen, you wash your hands every second, no matter what. I'm like, growing up, do you think your parents washed their hands 1,000 times when they cooked you dinner? I'm like, no,
exactly
and you're fine.
People
Don't
just
worry
act
about it.
so fucking bougie about shit.
Yes.
And it's like, do you think this happened when you were a kid?
Of
like your
course.
parents like, oh, sorry, I went over here to go clean up your toys over there and I went and washed my hands before coming back in the kitchen. Hell no. Mom went, threw your toy, put it back there, probably has germs, shit all over it, and then goes back in the kitchen.
Right,
And like,
germs are good for
yeah,
you.
exactly.
That's
But I mean, I just think like, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger
Yes.
and your body builds up a tolerance. And I always find the people that are the most like, oh, I got to take this, got to do that, I have to take this, are the ones who get sick all the time.
Of course.
It's like, and I think that half of it's like placebo. It's like in their head. It's like,
absolutely.
I feel it coming.
Someone
It's
sneezes
coming.
and now they're sick.
Exactly. Oh, I'm getting sick. That's it. I mean, I travel all the time. I'm fortunate that I don't get sick. very often. And, it's not like I'm crazy about with masks on and stuff like that. I mean, I'm in an airplane more than I am at home, that's for sure. But it is what it is. But I agree with you. Like, it's weird if you have a chef with a bunch of, some gloves on.
It's very like medicinal, whatever you call it.
I think it's whack.
And I don't think people even realize that because they don't think about it. They watch a show and they don't even realize. I'm like, I also then get comments when you see them with gloves, like, ugh. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah,
it makes sense. If they're like working on a salad or something where like it's not going to be cooked, okay. If they're gonna throw it into an oven that's 500 degrees, guess what? It doesn't matter what you do to that product. It's fine. It's all going to be
killed off. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. So, like you must, when you look at now, there's such a phenomenon around people, casual people, not people that are, bloggers and doing this for a living. They're all posting about their food or the photos of, what are some tips, because some people take some pretty terrible pictures of their food.
I see what
do you do to get in there?
A lot of my research is the second someone tells me about a restaurant or a dish or something, I go to the geotag. One, I just want to see the food, and two, like the way I remember restaurants is I save the photos into my collections on Instagram. So I see a lot of bad photos. I'd say number one is just lighting. Natural light. Like when I walk into a restaurant, the first thing I do is my eyes go everywhere trying to find like where's the most beautiful natural light for me to shoot everything. The second thing is just like the flash. Like I wouldn't ever use a flash. It's terrible. It ruins photos. If you want to use a light because it's like dinner or it's dark or whatever, I would borrow someone else's phone, put a napkin over it to diffuse it a little bit more. And then you'll get like a nice, beautiful little glow on the food. So those would be my two biggest tips.
All right. So napkin over the flash. Or the light.
The light. Don't flash. Use the light function from your friend's phone. Put the napkin over it. Hopefully it's a white napkin. If it's not, don't, I guess. White napkin over it. And that should just diffuse it nicely.
Awesome. So with Brunch Boys, like what's next? Like you seem to have had a ton of momentum, and I know you've got to be thinking of like how do you move the the needle forward. What are you going to do?
I mean, for me, it's just more of like what's more of a creative next for me. I'm just someone who gets bored. Again, Brunch Boys started literally because I was bored. So the freedom that I have just to do whatever I want, like I wake up and have a new idea and just go film it and just figure it out. And if that sort of series takes off, that idea of the video takes off, that's amazing. Like I'm doing a new one, sort of taking my inspiration from Japan. And just organically, I've been looking for more Japanese food in America. And I was like, oh, maybe I should just like make that a show. So I'm doing a new series like, it was a joke to me, like hashtag never ending Japan content, because I got home from Japan and never stopped posting about it. So I'm like, oh, well, that's a show now. Hashtag never ending Japan content. I'm going to look for the best Japanese food outside Japan. Some more on camera stuff. I think like just one, I enjoy being on camera. And also it's a good way to grow. I think like relying on the algorithm to grow just isn't that helpful anymore, just the way Instagram is. So the more I can grow by doing podcasts, by hosting different things, by doing more on-camera stuff, like I've hosted stuff with Thrillist, both sponsored stuff and unsponsored stuff with them, which has been fun. IHOP, whatever it is. I'm like, that's fun for me. Like the one day like I get to like be on camera, just be on camera, not worry about everything else is such a relief. So yeah, that kind of stuff is fun. To me, like, who knows? I don't know. Get on TikTok. I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know. It's too young for me. I was at Thanksgiving. We have a pretty large extended family. So I had like second cousins who I only kind of know. I see once a year, whatever it is, every other year. And they're like maybe 11 or 12. And I was like, you guys on Instagram? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, are you on TikTok? They're like, yeah, we love TikTok. They're like, apparently they don't learn anything in school anymore. They're like, we spent all day making TikTok videos in school. And I was like, oh, damn. All right. I guess I got to get more. I got to get my TikTok game up.
Got to step up your TikTok game, that TikTok swagoo. So, a couple more questions for you. If you could have brunch with one person, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh, Drake.
Gotta
be Drake. Yeah. That'd be an epic brunch. We'd probably like get on his like what giant plane
that
is he on now?
That might be a boozy brunch though. I'm just warning you.
Get on the plane, fly somewhere around the world just to get brunch, just to fly right back.
Yeah, no, Drake would be fun to have some brunch with.
And I feel like he would appreciate
Champagne
it too.
Poppy. I think you might have to be willing to have a little boozy brunch with that.
That's fine. Down for that.
How about anywhere in the world you can go to try and have brunch? Like what's on your mind that you haven't been to?
I just want to go back to Japan. My friends hate me. I end up talking about it so much, but it's honestly, I was always so fascinated with them, blown away by the culture and the food, and there's a lot left for me to explore.
So Japan blocked you. You can no longer come in. You're
right.
no longer to access it. Where else would you go?
Oh, God. I think I really want to go to Mexico City. My friends have been going there, and
So that scene is fire.
Yeah.
Their brunch scene is.
It looks amazing to me. I've been to Mexico once, and it was Cancun. I'm like, that doesn't count. I want to go to real Mexico. Like while I was in Cancun, I tried to find real Mexico in Cancun, and I was stopped at every turn.
Yeah,
it's like I want to go there and like really experience the food there.
We're gonna be going out there in Q1, so I'll let you know. Because we'll hit it up definitely. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Congrats on all your success. Looking forward to keep following the Brunch Boys scene, and congrats. And I'll let you know about Japan to bring you some more hats. Awesome. Thanks. And that's a wrap for today's business class. Enjoy today's podcast? Feel free to leave a review on iTunes or share this episode with a friend. Want more Hotel Boss in your life? Who doesn't? Subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on Instagram. Simply look up @The Hotel Boss. Until next time, Hotel Boss out!